Hello, my name is Jonas Caston, and I'll be analyzing Panther Baby by Jamal Joseph. The autobiography encompasses the author's early life through his performance of Raise It Up at the 2008 Oscars. He was conceived in Cuba with a father who was part of the Communist Party and a mother who moved to the U.S., where Jamal was born in New York. He was first raised by Alexander and Anna Jackson, who took in foster kids to their Bronx home. Noonie, the Jacksons' housekeeper, and her husband Charles became Jamal's unofficial adopted grandparents. He grew up in the Edenwald housing project, and Pa Baltimore, who is Noonie's husband Charles, died when he was 12 from a seizure. He grew up under the care of Noonie and joined the Black Panther Party when he was 15. He went to jail twice, married Joyce Walker, and became an American writer, director, producer, poet, activist, and educator. Why does the writer feel the need to justify his or herself? He wanted to clarify what the Panther Party stood for as an organization, which relates to the ideological structure of autobiography, as he experiences a negative perception of the Panther Party, and as he puts, who could blame them? On television, in the papers, and before their eyes, Panthers were being beaten, arrested, and killed. He explores this conflicting image by presenting the altruistic nature of the Panthers in his memories, such as a senior Panther telling him, "Nothing is more important than keeping your word once you've made a commitment, especially when you've made a commitment to black children. Their lives are already filled with disappointments and broken promises. The least you should have done was to contact the teacher and let her know you weren't coming." This altruistic philosophy is present throughout a Panther's daily routine as he tours what it is like. Picture dragging yourself from exhausted sleep, out of whatever little warmth you had in your bed, to boil water, to wash up and head out into the cold to start work at a Panther breakfast program, where all Panthers were required to work. Getting up at 5 and trudging through the freezing cold with 3 hours of sleep took commitment, although once you made it to the church or community center basement, you were energized by the kids. Despite the positive components of the organization, he also unflinchingly reveals the militant, demonized elements of the Panthers, such as his involvement in an armed raid to remove the influence of drugs from a neighborhood. About 30 people were partying in the main area of the club. We fired a machine gun burst into the ceiling, and when one of the club security guards tried to reach for a gun, we herded everyone into a corner and scooped up the drugs and money. While certainly biased, the author attempts to portray an accurate reality of the Panthers organization. He poignantly does not attempt to exonerate them, but rather to convey their true nature. Jamal Joseph also felt the need to clear his consciousness with his unofficial adopted grandma Noonie, and claimed that while he disappointed her, he always kept her values at heart. He includes minuscule details such as his dishonest testimony in court, in which he protects the identity of his shooter, yet claims, "I testified honestly that I didn't remember much about the person who shot me." The bouncer was acquitted of the charges and Jake moved back to the Midwest. He later meets with the bouncer to ensure the safety of a child, Jake, who the bouncer held a grudge against. From Jamal's perspective, he follows his intuition and follows the code of the street, the honor and word of the street soldier, and follows his grandma's values. He also attempts to understate the ubiquitous use of guns. As he says, guns were around, but in a drawer or a closet, and not as constant companions to Panthers on duty. He openly says within the piece that the rhetoric of love and peace within the Panthers made me feel less like I was doing Noonie wrong. This love for his grandma and the guilt he felt in joining the Panthers inspires the need he feels to justify his involvement within the organization. To whom is he writing? The piece switches points of view often with the intent to remain candid, yet make clear that the author is living through the experiences he describes as a narrator, which relates to the wordplay he uses as an autobiographical component to send his message, which he states, "We must continue to fight for our youth, and, if necessary, wage that fight for change in militant and revolutionary ways. Our young people must know that they stand on the shoulders of people like Rosa Parks, Dr. King, Malcolm X, members of the Black Panther Party, and so many others." He writes specifically for and to youths, partly because his autobiography fixates primarily on those memories of his youth, which relates to language and self-representation as he defines himself through his youth. Why was this story interesting enough to merit publication? The conflicts the author faces and the demeanor in which he writes them prove both thought-provoking and amusing. He explores his own truths through his memories, creating remarks such as, "Damn, I thought as the bus headed up the highway. The South is crazy. This statement precedes a confrontation he had with the KKK around the same instant he first kissed a girl. He continues this trend throughout the novel, using imagery and wordplay to describe the stark truths with a light tone, such as the bleak reality of prison. The cell toilet could be used as a refrigerator. The inmates would soap it up, scrub it clean, flush it a few times to get the water ice cold, and drop in tiny sealed cartons of milk or plastic sealed packets of salami and other meat to keep it cold. If you had to go to the bathroom, you took the items out, did your business, scrubbed the toilet, and turned it back into a refrigerator. He also adds emphasis into some rather intimate experiences, describing the first time he did drugs and the first time he slept with a woman. Is it worth the read? While the book isn't written in a complex manner, nor is it particularly profound, I found it enjoyable, and perhaps the best way to review the book as a whole lies in this passage. They were panting and staring each other down like boxers in the ring. Death, struck, wow, that was amazing. I really felt your commitment to your character and to the scene. Death, you looked at Struck with such intensity when you told him you would stab him 15 times and eat his liver for a snack. Struck, you were so present when you told Death you were going to bash in his skull with the mop rinner until his brains ooze out of his ears. Great damn work. This scene depicted his role in creating plays with his prison mates, which actually proved a successful method to reducing the crime rate from within the prison. I wouldn't prioritize this book, but it isn't a bad book.